Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Behaviour Pod. This is your one-stop shop for all things behaviour, and I am so excited, loving this mini-series with the wonderful, amazing Emma DPK, our TPB expert. And my goodness, we have had some awesome discussions that have been fueled by your fabulous questions. So if you haven't sent a question over, all about behaviour, any question that you have, whether you're an educator or a parent or a childcare provider, whoever you are, we want to hear from you. So send us your questions because we are answering your questions around behaviour in real talk, real discussions about what we can do. And this one, the final episode in this mini series, it's a goodie. It's such a goodie, isn't it, Emma? We love this question. This question is what we're here for. So for those of you who do not know, we all work on a 360 approach to supporting behaviour. I created the behaviour balance system, which is completely around teaching the skills behind behaviour and emotional regulation. We have the behaviour bank, which has a whole wide range of amazing, wonderful, fantastic experts. Emma's included in this. She is one of them. And we are really about creating a 360 approach, bridging homes and school and education and nursery and all the settings. So this question is, are you ready? I feel like this should be a drum roll. This question is, everyone's like, give me the question. Behavior is never in the moment. So what affects it and how can positive touch really help? Now, I felt like when I read this question, I was like, is this person on the fence with positive touch? I don't know. Well, I'm hoping they've listened to the whole mini series and that they're completely swayed now. But let's delve into it because yes, great question.
Yeah, brilliant question. Yeah, there's so
many answers to this question.
Yeah, well, where to begin?
How long do we have?
I love the fact that, the world we live in now, that there is so much understanding about how entwined our mental state is with our physical state and also our emotional state. Like we are all just one balanced system.
Yeah.
Be it the way that our stomach processes food, to the way we react if we hurt ourselves, to the way we react if someone hurts our feelings. It is all one system. And if anything is slightly unbalanced, I'm a reflexologist, so I'm all about pressing points on your feet and your hands that helps the body to find its balance, to find its homeostasis. Because the smallest little thing, be it a physical implication or an emotional implication, can upset the apple cart. It can make us feel unbalanced. It can make us lose that equilibrium that we feel. Yeah. So an example is your digestive system. So if you're feeling afraid about something, you get those butterflies in your stomach, don't you? You get that feeling in your tummy, you get that worry in your tummy. Or if you have a big presentation to do, you might need to go to the toilet a bit more. And it's an emotional state that has triggered a physiological state, because we're one and the same thing. Wow. So the reason your digestive system shuts down is because if you're worried about something, if you're a bit feeling anxious or a bit stressed even, then you're going to be taken into your fight or flight state, which is engaging your sympathetic nervous system. So all these physiological things in your body happen without you controlling it. It's completely out of your control. So your digestive system shuts down because when you are, think about caveman times, there was a lion on the horizon, your amygdala, your reptilian part of your brain, would kick in to say, right, you're in trouble. There is a lion that is going to eat you. You need to run for your life. Therefore, there are parts of your body that are not needed when you are running for your life. And one of those things is your stomach. So your stomach shuts down. All these chemicals, all these nervous energy running through your body, that all the hormones as well, adrenaline, cortisol, flooding through your system, that tells your stomach, shut down, not needed. Which is why you get that feeling, those butterflies in your tummy, needing to go to the toilet. All of that is a physical effect of an emotional feeling. So therefore, anything that we can do that almost helps the body feel safe, remind itself there isn't a lion coming for you. You are going to be okay. You're allowed to feel stressed. You're allowed to feel worried. That's fine. Like, that feeling helps us in the moment. It gives us the the kind of the momentum to get through those moments. You don't want to get stuck in that feeling, because your body needs to function at its optimum. You need to get into that rest and digest state. You need to engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps everything just go back to that equilibrium, that calm. So anything we can do, and reflexology, touch therapy, is an incredible tool to help the body get from that sympathetic nervous system into that parasympathetic nervous system and really help function at its optimum.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, the modern day lion, we've got cars on the road, we've got things that we watch on TV that, make us feel unsafe. There's so many things in the world that are the modern day lions, as so to speak. And we need those reactions. So it's really important that we don't try and kind of prevent that from happening, but it's also really important to know how to bring ourselves back round and to, I guess, train our brain or support our brain in understanding that actually what we feel is unsafe quite often isn't physical unsafe anyway, and I talk a lot, as you know, Emma, and our TBBers will know already, I talk a lot about the fact that we need to support emotional safety as well as physical safety in our school environments and our home environments, for our developing minds, for our children, our young people. Actually, they, as you said, their responses to them are very, very similar. And we talk about the brain, we talk about the neurological responses that the brain has when it comes to emotional pain and physical pain. It's so similar. And our children need to be, I guess, taught the skills of recognizing that, recognizing that emotional pain or emotional unsafety is going to have a certain outcome physically. And so often we hear this in our children, don't we? I've got tummy ache, or I've got my finger hurts, and sometimes it's connection seeking. Sometimes it is that they're trying to connect with you, but other times it is a physical response to an emotional state. And throughout this little mini series, we've been doing the this or that game. So the this or that was mind or body. I know what you're going to go for.
Well, obviously body.
Obviously the body. But I'm going to just put it out there that they are one.
Oh, but that's it.
Right.
The world I'm in, I am able to teach adults, children,
Yeah.
parents of young baby. Like, the younger you start, showing children how to regulate themselves through physical, to support the emotional regulation of themselves through physical touch, then you're giving them, the keys to the palace, effectively, because you're giving them autonomy. You're showing them those key points on their hands and the feet that they can press to better support them when they are feeling either emotionally unregulated or physically unregulated, because it is one and the same thing.
Yeah.
But because what I do is through effectively pressing on the nerve endings, it is going to be physical first, but actually that emotional side of it as well is just an added bonus. Like, that's just like, oh, fabulous. Let's do that too, because it's all connected. But I'm physically pressing on the end of a nerve ending, so I'm going to stay in that body side
And then
for
reach the mind from there.
of
It's
course.
amazing. This is what we want. I love it. So if we break it down, if we start to think about positive touch and the impacts that we can have, the support that we can create for behavior, because of course this is all of the stuff that we're talking about here impacts behavior. We are looking at preventative support. We're looking at things that you can do ahead of time, in the moment, and beyond. We want, that restorative support in there as well. But when we're thinking about positive touch, when we're thinking about reflexology or any form of, contact, what are the impacts that we're actually having? When we are using the many strategies that you have shared. And again, TBBers, if you're part of the Behaviour Bank, head over to Emma's vault, because she actually demonstrates. I'm like doing it on myself here on my hand. For those of you listening to this, you're thinking, what? But for those of you watching it, I'm probably, stroking my own hand as I talk. But she demonstrates this in her bite-sized clips. Her short course is fantastic. Please, head over and watch those. And you can download stuff to support you in teaching your children about this, and through setting this up in your homes or your classrooms. But let's talk about what we're actually impacting from a physical sense. What are we reaching and what are we impacting?
Yeah, so if we're talking about that mind and body combining from a child and behavior, just going back to your original question, I think the key areas that reflexology can be really powerful to support is digestion, which I've already spoken about, that gut feeling, but also your immunity. There is so many parts of so when we're stressed, when we're worried, or when we're feeling getting ourselves into a hyped emotional state, that is going to be having an impact on our immune system as well. So an example is the thymus gland. That's a gland that grows when we're inside our mother's tummies. And the role of the thymus gland is to create all of our white blood cells. Now, these are like our first line of defense. These are the guys that are going out and fighting all of the viruses and the bacteria that are coming to our body. So if we are feeling depleted of resources, if we're not feeling ourselves or feeling unbalanced, then the thymus gland is not able to function at its optimum. And that's it. All of these body parts, if anything is unbalanced, they're not going to be given the best possible chance to function at their optimum, which is then going to have an impact on how you are feeling. You're more likely going to catch a cold. You're going to feel run down. You might then, it's going to start to impact your sleep. It's like the dominoes effect. We are such a balanced system that anything that gets knocked over, it will have a ripple effect and it will cause an impact, be it a physical or emotional side. Like quite often if people are, they can say they've lost a loved one and they are grieving, they will have a physical pain as well. They might get severe back pain because they're stressed, they're feeling that emotional stress. That will then be going down their spine, down their central nervous system, and it might then sit at their hips and they get pain at their hips. So there's quite often transferred pain as well. So if anything that you can do that supports the whole body physically and emotionally is then just going to give you the best possible chance. So that the thymus gland, this is one I find really, really interesting because, as I said, it develops when you're in your mother's tummy, and it keeps producing white blood cells. But actually, by the time you get to puberty, it stops growing white blood cells. So therefore, it's such an important gland for us to support in children. Because by the time you get to puberty, it's done its job. Like, you then have in your body every single T cell that you will need for the rest of your life. So anything that we can do to support that function, to support that producing of T cells, you're going to give children, almost like the best soldiers within their immune system to fight any viruses they have. So that's just a key point that I think is really good to support and just give their immunity a bit more nurturing. Obviously our bodies are phenomenal. They do everything themselves, but anything we can do to give that extra support, you're only just going to make them function even more optimally.
That is so interesting, isn't it? And actually, as you were talking, something came to mind, and I just wanted to double check it. So I've headed to the Googles, of course, and because I read this a while ago, and it was something like a minute of increased anger or a huge emotion can weaken the immune system for like up to 4 to 5 hours. I actually thought it was like 40 minutes of anger, but I've just the good old Google. I mean, I might be completely inaccurate, but this is what I read, and then this is what Google has just told me as I was looking at it. But the fact that it does have an impact on our immune system for hours afterwards, regardless of that, how long the accuracy there is. But in terms of the response that our body has with the immune system, and you can see it. I mean, this is why if you get lots of, stressful experiences, you often get sick afterwards. I actually experience this on a fairly regular basis. For anyone that follows me on Instagram, you'll know that I'm often ill. And that tends to be because I go all in on everything that I do. I'm very kind of, 120% most of the time. And sometimes, after I've done like a week's worth of training, or I've been in schools and I've been doing this and doing that, it's not kind of a negative stress, because I love it. I'm very passionate about what I do. But the following week, I always have to plan like an admin week or a down week, because I know that the chances are I might get sick.
Because
And it's
your body's
because,
depleted. Yeah,
yeah,
your
this
body's
is it. Because I've literally used everything I've got in my tank to, give the best possible experience and the best outcomes for everyone that attends all the trainings and all the things that we do. But then after that, I need recoup time. I was talking, I don't remember if it was talking, I was talking to you, or I was talking to someone about this a while back. And the idea that rest in my mind was like, I haven't got time for that. I haven't got, this idea of it as being lazy, and how wrong I was, first of all, full disclosure there. But also starting to track it and starting to actually calendarize my movements based on what I now know has been so powerful. But thinking about this and thinking about what we expect for ourselves, and I guess reframing it in our minds, I now have like healing weeks, or like healing moments. So rather than me thinking, because I had this negative connotation with the idea of like, resting, like you haven't got time to rest, push, push, push. Rather than having that as a mindset and having that as a go-to, I'm now making sure that I have those elements of like healing moments where I can allow myself to, I guess, park the idea of like, this is not okay. Like you haven't got, you can't just sit around. There's loads to do, but actually be like, no, this is a recharging moment. This is where I'm
Mhm.
using all this and like going all in and giving everything I've got to the gorgeous people that attend. And then this is when I recharge, ready to go again. And I think, reflexology, positive touch has such a big impact in the recharge. And the whole concept of, the little army that we're creating for our children when it comes to their immune system is huge, isn't it? What more
Mhm.
can we give them? Is the concept that we talk a lot about, creating the blueprint for their adulthood, during those childhood years. And we talk a lot about, obviously that is not set in stone. So before you kind of worry that, oh my goodness, I've ruined the adulthood of my child. You haven't. We have gorgeous neuroplasticity, which means that, our brain is ever changing. But the idea that we're forming their belief systems around the world and all of this, but also not only are we able to impact their mind and what they're able to achieve and push themselves to do and all of that lovely, gorgeous stuff, we're also enabled to and empowered to do the same physically, which is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is wonderful, and I feel very fortunate that when I'm doing reflexology on an adult or a child,
Yeah.
how incredible they feel after, physically and emotionally, because
Yeah.
it is so entwined. It's just love my job moment.
No, I know, right? It sounds like, pinch me. Am I doing this? Is this really my role in the world? Like giving this to
No.
these people?
But then also, but exactly what we both do is then teaching people how to then have that skill set themselves and pass on that knowledge. Like you say, you're setting the foundation for the children that you care for, or your own children, to give them the best possible start for them to then, we're just nurturers. We're just trying to create the safety, all the skills for them to become their own people. And
Yeah,
it's amazing to see, isn't it?
it really is. It really is. And I think, as grown-ups, not only do we sometimes wish we'd known this earlier. I hope I'm not alone there. Sometimes I learn all of this stuff. I'm an avid reader. My goodness, I read all the books and, listen to all the podcasts and do all of the training courses I could possibly do. I love learning. But sometimes I do sit there and think, gosh, I wish I'd known this. I wish I'd known this when I first started teaching, or I wish I'd known this before I had my son, or I wish I'd known this then. But the fact that we know it now, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that, will you do now? And what
But
a magical thing you can like move forwards with, right?
completely. There's no point in beating yourself like shoulda, woulda,
No.
coulda. You can't change the past, so just focus on the future. Just take the little nuggets of information that you pick up, and I'm the same as you, constantly learning, constantly wanting to absorb new information. And yeah, you can't beat yourself up for the fact you didn't know it.
No.
Our our parent is similar age. Our parents are a very different generation. So I feel very fortunate that we know so much and we're able to impart that knowledge onto the next generation, onto either our children or the children we're caring for, because we are setting them up to have, like, there's so much power over themselves from an emotional and physical side. It's incredible.
It almost makes you want to like be able to skip ahead and see what they do with it. You know, like I always think this, and it probably sounds a bit strange, but I look at the things that I'm putting in place for my son and in the schools and nurseries we work in. And I just think, gosh, I can't wait for like I can wait, obviously, you know, the time goes so quickly. But looking forward to the, you know, what will this look like in 10 years for those young people, you know, or like 20 years for those young people? Like once they have all of these things in place, once they're able to do all of these things and they've learned the skills behind the behavior and the emotional regulation and all of these amazing supports that we're putting in place now, it's going to be so wonderful to see what they do with it, you know, when they are that little bit older, when they've gone through a different stage of development.
No, I think I've told you this story before. You know, I've already seen it with my 8-year-old. You know, the fact that she uses the points that I've shown her, that I've been doing on her since she was born. You know, there's key reflexology points on your hands and your feet that really help. You know, help you calm, be it your solar plexus, be it your spine, be it your adrenal glands. And she is doing it on her peers in her class.
Friends, yes.
Exactly. Like, so some of her peers that have neurodiversity, and they have those moments of overwhelm, and we also have those moments of overwhelm, but she will go and she will do touch therapy, and she's shown her other friends how they can all do it on themselves. Like, for me, I'm just like, wow, okay, that is here, my job here is done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, it's all brains love it, you know, whether we are talking about neurodiverse brains, whether we're talking about doing it for a particular reason for children who are struggling with their digestion, or, you know, whether it is a particular focus. So, you know, of course, we live in such a neurodiverse environment within schools and within our social environments as well, you know, and I love that we're able to apply a skill or apply a support that all brains can access. Now, of course, it's really important to have like the side note that not all children or young people will want to be touched, you
No.
know. And I don't think that's necessarily specific to neurodiverse brains. I think that actually all children are, or sorry, neurodivergent brains. I think all children have different windows of tolerance to touch, and all grown-ups as well. You know, some children love physical contact and are, you know, my son was he loved it when he was asleep. So he was a contact sleeper, someone referred to him as. I don't know if that's a technical term or not, or whether someone made it up. But he definitely feels like that because he likes to be right next to you all night. It's really great. But in terms of, you know, just recognizing that as parents, you are the expert in your child, and it doesn't necessarily it's not the same for every child. There's no one shoe that fits all brain types. And I think that, you know, it's just knowing whether your child will respond well to positive touch in any particular way, whether you think you need to build it up slowly, or whether you think that actually it needs to be done in a way that is distracted, or, you know, in the moment, or something that they're doing on themselves. Because it's just, I think, just off the back of this, you know, conversation and where it has gone, it's really important to discuss this, because as you mentioned, you know, neurodiversity is such a topic of discussion. It really is. And I love that, because I think awareness and building support platforms, we are absolutely, you know, really focused on creating neuro-affirming classrooms and settings, and supporting parents at home with making sure that their understanding is there, and that all brain types are catered for in the world that we're creating. So I think this is such an important area to discuss when it comes to positive touch, or any form of, you know, kind of connection, is that every child is going to respond differently. So it's not about, you know, it's not a matter of thinking, oh, you know, this child has this type of brain, so this will work with this child. You know, a matter of get to know the child, get to know what they like, get to know how you can bridge it, how you can work with them when it comes to this. Because of course, you know, as we've mentioned before, this approach, this form of touch can help so many things, you know, connection, well-being, you know, optimizing their ability in terms of their immune system, and their emotional
Sleep, aid
regulation.
sleep as well.
Sorry.
It can aid sleep as well, which I know is something else
Yeah,
that gets impacted, you know, through behavior, can really kind of be impacted. So
absolutely, absolutely. So there's so many elements, but
yeah.
also, you know, just making sure that it feels comfortable is such a crucial, you know, first step, I guess.
I,
But
I
yeah,
think it's on a day-to-day basis. So sorry to interrupt, but it's on a day-to-day
I-
basis as well. Like every single individual, like I have days where I don't want anyone to come anywhere near me. But then most days I really benefit from touch therapy, you know, so it's every individual is completely different. But yeah, you're right. It's about working out what works for that individual child. And that's why I love touch therapy is, as you say, it doesn't have to be someone doing it on someone else.
yeah,
Teaching them those skills to do it on themselves then gives you that autonomy, gives you that sense of ownership. I've got a friend who's got a 3-year-old. I've been doing treatments on his feet for his digestion. He now does it on himself because he wants to have, you know, his 3-year-old that's doing reflexology on himself to support his digestive system. He also likes me to do it too, but he wants to have that skill to take ownership of his own body and to give him that power to look after himself. And that is brilliant.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness, what a mini series, hey? We have covered so much. And if you are interested in hearing more, then where can they find you, Emma? Where can they head over to?
You need to head over to the bank, obviously.
Obviously. Head over to the Behaviour Bank. Check out all of the amazing things that Emma shares there. You can, of course, also head over to one of the many social media platforms because you can find Emma on Instagram, on Facebook, on, you know, all of the places, Emma, right?
Yeah, Instagram is my main one, but yes, and or head over to my website where all the information is on there as well.
Absolutely. And this is just the tipping point, or you know, the tip of the iceberg, as they say, for talking about positive touch, talking about reflexology, talking about how we can support our children through shifting their physiology first, because this is a huge subject to delve into. And my goodness, we've covered a fair bit in this mini series. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you have come away with some tips that you can put into practice. If you are not a TBBer, then come on over, join the bank. We can't wait to see you and meet you. But for now, we're going to wrap this mini series up, and we will say farewell to the lovely Emma. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always such a pleasure chatting with you, Emma.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
So head over to the bank, the one-stop shop for all things behaviour. Thank you for listening to this mini series. Remember that we can save you time, we can save you energy while you invest in your family or in your setting, and our children and greater, wider society will be reaping the benefits and profiting in the future because of it. So have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, morning, whatever the time is where you are, and we will see you in the next mini series. Take care, everyone. Bye.